Hello, welcome to our Heritage Works. Today we're making baked cloud polenta. Polenta is an Italian dish made from ground corn. Now, you can use either cornmeal, like you're used to seeing in the grocery store, or you can actually use polenta. On the left is the normal cornmeal. On the right is a coarser grind, which is normally called polenta corn. For a creamier polenta, you would want to use the cornmeal, the one on the left. It's a little finer. For a little bit of bite or chew to the polenta, you're going to want to use the coarser ground polenta. In this recipe, we're actually going to use 1 cup of each. We could use all cornmeal or all polenta corn, and it would turn out just fine, and you can use the recipe either way. I just simply chose to go someplace in the middle. I want a little bit of crunch or chew to it, but I also like the creaminess of the polenta made with the cornmeal corn. The ingredients we'll be using are 7 cups of water, 4 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 cloves of smashed garlic, not minced, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. This is to taste. 2 cups of polenta or cornmeal, 1½ cups of grated pecorino cheese or Saggio, Romano, Parmesan, doesn't really matter, and 1/4 cup of cream or half and half. The first thing I want to do is to prepare my baking dish. To do this, I'm taking the olive oil spoon and rubbing it onto the paper from my butter. Then I'm using that to spread a nice thin even coat across the entire dish. This allows the polenta to cook nicely, but then when I go to turn it out, it'll have a nice shape and won't stick. To start the cooking, we're going to take our butter and our olive oil and put it in our Dutch oven. We're going to let it heat up, and then we're going to add our garlic. Now, we're using smashed garlic instead of minced. The difference here is surface area of the garlic. We want to make sure that we don't have too much so that it doesn't infuse too much flavor into our olive oil and butter mixture. We want it just to be a hint that's in there. We will cook the garlic for about 4 minutes or until it is a nice golden brown on the outside. Then we'll take it out and discard it and continue on with the rest of our cooking. As you see, the butter olive oil combination gets a nice golden hue to it, and the garlic could then be used elsewhere if you needed it in a sauce or something like that. You could certainly use this garlic in that, though a lot of the flavor has already been pulled out of it. The next thing we're going to do is add our salt and pepper, and then our 7 cups of water, and this needs to then be brought back to a boil. Once we have a rolling boil, we will add the polenta or cornmeal that we're using. Now, we want to add this very slowly so it doesn't clump, and whisk as we go. You'll notice I'm pouring it just a little bit at a time. This allows the grains to start to absorb moisture before they have a chance to stick together. And we will want to continue to do that until it has all been incorporated. Once it has been incorporated, we need to bring this back up to a boil, and then we'll turn it down to a simmer or a low boil for 20 minutes. Now, during this time, We will want to continue to stir it very, very frequently. I stirred approximately every 30 seconds to a minute, no longer than 2 minutes between stirrings, because this does have a tendency to stick. So be sure to continue to whisk as you go and scraping the bottom of the pot, and you'll see that the texture changes as you get going. It'll start out really thin, then it'll get thick and bubbly, then it turns a shiny color, and then it kind of dulls back down a little bit. But we want to keep doing this until we have reached our 20-minute time period so that the polenta has been cooked all the way through. I know I'm getting close when I whisk the polenta, and I can create what I call the spiral galaxy. So in the polenta itself, it'll leave kind of a trail of the whisk, and it kind of has a circular swirl to it, and it stays there just for a few seconds. That's when I know that I'm getting close to it being finished and ready for the next step. Once we have cooked for 20 minutes, we will want to remove the polenta from our heat completely. Once we have removed the polenta from our heat, it's time to add the cheese and the cream or half and half that we're using. In a pinch, you could also use milk. Now, this is going to get really thick really fast as you stir. It'll get hard to stir around. But keep going, add a little bit of time of the cheese. You do want to make sure that you keep stirring and keep stirring until this is well incorporated. We want to make sure that that cheese is throughout and that you can't really tell where the cheese stops and the polenta begins. So just keep stirring, it'll come together. Now that the cheese has been incorporated, we need to pour this into our already prepared pan. Now, with the weight of the Dutch oven and the weight of the polenta, you might want to enlist the help of someone to help you get this in there. Once you have it all in your baking dish, you will want to smooth out the top so that it's nice and flat as possible. Then what you're going to do is you're going to set this aside to cool. It needs to rest on the counter for about 2 hours, so that way the temperature has a chance to drop. Then you need to put it into the refrigerator for at least 3 hours. Now you could make this the day before and get it to this point. When you're ready to reheat the polenta and actually bake it, you're going to want to turn it out, and because we greased it, it should come right out, and it has. You're then going to divide this into 6 bricks or blocks. So we're going to cut it down the center, and then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and cut it into thirds. This will give us our portion sizes for when we go to serve. We will transfer these blocks to greased parchment paper and then put it in the oven at 375 degrees for 30 minutes. This is to heat it all the way through and give the outer coating a chance to really firm up, and the inside then will remain nice and creamy. So when you cut through it, you'll have a little bit of tension, and then it'll just glide right through. The coloring on the blocks before baking are nice light yellowish color. After baking, they should have just a little bit of a golden texture color to them, and they should be just a little bit firmer and should be absolutely beautiful. You will want to serve this with your favorite pasta sauce on top, and then a little more of the cheese that you put inside the polenta itself, and that ties the whole dish together. Be sure to leave a comment if you are planning to make this dish. Let us know how it goes. If you've made polenta and have other suggestions, again, leave a comment. I hope that you'll share this with all your friends, and thank you for watching this video, and I hope if you haven't already that you'll hit that subscribe button.